Welcome back to Political Hot Seat. It's a live call-in show. You can call right now, 727-8750, or you can email me at deanna@kpvm.tv. We have Bill Garlow over there with Fred Conquest, who's running for governor, and Harley Kulkin, who's running for lieutenant governor. Harley, we were talking a little bit about gold and silver when we went to break, and you were kind of going on the lines of tourism, which is the main job of the lieutenant governor, is it not?
Definitely, tourism and economic development.
And that is something that's kind of been your interest for many years, watching you throughout the years, speaking a little bit about jobs and growth, and you wanting to bring more business here locally to Pahrump, and being a force up there in the legislature, if you're elected to lieutenant governor, being able to bring jobs here to Nye County. Let's talk a little bit about what your plans are.
The nature of my plan would basically be this. As I said, everybody knows what needs to be done. It's just that, unfortunately, politics is more of a social club than a club that gets things done. If I'm lieutenant governor, and I know Mr. Conquest shares the same feelings, we're going to get things done. And how we're going to do that is we're going to assemble a group of people together and that will identify just what businesses will be great for Nevada. And then we're going to go visit those businesses and ask them, what will it take to get you to come to Nevada? You know they're going to give you some answers. And then that's the easy part. Then the tough part's going to be that we're going to lobby the legislature and get them to pass the legislation that will entice business to come to Nevada. Now, I think what's going to make a big difference here compared to the way business is normally done is that Fred and I aren't afraid to go out publicly and say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. And that's a lot of power when you're willing to do that and cross lines. We're not beholden to no special interests. We're only interested in what's good for the Nevadans. And we will get out there, and if somebody wants to play dirty politics, well, we don't have a problem letting the public know about it. And when people know that you'll do that, they're a lot more likely to do what's the right thing for the people of Nevada.
We spoke before about bringing jobs here to Pahrump, and you've even went all out as to want to bring what's the motorcycle, the road shows incorporated, which they're going to be having a show here, and also as well the other festival that you were interested, which I think was not approved, right?
Well, you're talking about the Burning Man event. Yeah. It was approved. The town was trying very hard, but unfortunately we're not a city, so meaning that we have a chain of command that works. Instead, the sheriff is free to do whatever he wants, so he said, as an example, if you and I go and I give you a beer, I need a liquor license. A person from the county stepped out and said, oh, well, you need to put 2 inches of gravel down to control the dust. Of course, there was stuff down to control the dust, not to mention we're going to put grass there, so why would you want to do that? So people are just messing up the works. I don't understand. You know, we need economic development. We need to be known as a business-friendly community and state. You know, and like I said, we're talking about lieutenant governor. The state is not known as being business-friendly. You know, you can talk all you want that you want businesses to come on, whatever, but the fact of the matter is they leave California and they go right through the state and somewhere else. So why don't they come here? We know we have a relatively nice climate. We have an eager workforce. And why do they not come here? Because we're not giving them the right incentives. We're not really giving them much at all, actually. Like I said, you can talk all you want. And mining is an example. I was at a tourism function in Northern Nevada, and a lobbyist, attorney for mining, stated that they pay $250 million a year in taxes to the state of Nevada, and most of the audience was clapping, hey, that's really great. I'm just waiting for my opportunity. So when it died down, I said, well, compared to what? Hey, what does $250 million don't mean nothing to me. How much do you gross? I don't know. How much do you get? I don't know. Well, the answer is $8 billion they gross. And that money is, all these mining companies are owned by companies not even in the United States. They're exporting our dollars. So they gross $8 billion and give us $250 million, 5% of the net by the time they write off everything they can and buy themselves new cars. Do you think that's right? I don't think so.
What do you think about the tax incentives? Like the movie industry is getting tax incentive now, and of course mining does get their breaks like you were talking about. Tourism, as the lieutenant governor comes into play, wouldn't have very much to do with the solar and wind generated energy, right?
Well, you know, we're going to be a team. You know, economic development is, and part of is the you know, the main. Why is it a full-time job? That's the main goal of the lieutenant's governor: economic development and tourism, and not much is happening. I'd like Fred to talk about what he can do as governor, because you know he has powers that our governor just doesn't use. You know, and take the Bundy situation. I'm not taking a side; both sides are screwy. But the fact of the matter is, our governor should have been there And he would have known full well in advance before the media and the public knew anything, and he should have resolved that issue instead of the state of Nevada being embarrassed again. So let Fred talk about how he's going to use his executive power should he be governor and we're a team and get this state straightened out.
Well, one of the key problems is that the people who have been governor have all been sort of cherry-picked by the local attorney crowds, and they don't want to do anything because they're afraid of failure. So they just sit back and smile and, walk around. There's no strategic vision. Well, there's no vision, there's no strategy, there's no tactics, and there's no plans to solve any of these problems. In 2010, when I ran for governor, my complaint with Roy Reed was he had a plan, but it really wasn't a plan. It was a vision. Well, how are you going to put it into effect? That's what people want to know. People want stuff that works. And why do we keep trying to reinvent the wheel when there's places all over the earth where people are doing amazing things that create jobs and decent standards of living for people that we could bring here with no problem? But it's really hard to get people to come here if your education system is the worst in the country. If healthcare, you can't get any because there's not enough doctors. It's irrelevant whether you have insurance because there's not any doctors for you to go to. That's one problem we're going to fix. Veterans are getting the royal shaft in Nevada. We need to absolutely find a way to get housing of sorts. We need to get mental health care problems at least mitigated and work to eliminate as much of the problems we have. And we can do that. It's not overly difficult if you have a vision, a strategy, a tactic, and a plan. For 30 years or so, I delved in economic development. When I was CEO of a company, we did economic development around the world as consultants. So I know where to go to get.
How would you like us to become more business friendly, like Harley was talking about?
Well, an example would be, it costs $75 to start a corporation, and $450 for what is essentially a license fee. We have 350,000 corporations. Some make very minimal, some like Walmart take in huge amounts of money. The tax structure is set up in such a way that we need to broaden it, but how do you broaden it without impacting negatively the smaller businesses? And back in 2010, I came up with this idea, we'll call it a corporate privilege fee. We attach to corporations a fee instead of the $450 of 1% of the gross. If you don't want to have limited liability in a corporation, then you can become a sole proprietor and you won't get taxed. That's one simple way to solve the problem. We have so many people making, at the upper levels of government, high dollar salaries, which is fine if they produce results, but they don't.
Exactly. Our governor, as an example, and our higher state officials make some of the top salaries in the nation for their job, $141,000, and what are the results? I read them to you in the beginning of the show.
It seems that we've been living off of gambling, tourism, and mining for many years. We have solar and wind coming up, and that seems to be where we're putting a lot of our attention. But manufacturing is something that we are trying to attract definitely here to Nevada as well.
Well, that was the idea of this 3D printing, which is the new technology in manufacturing, and this broad building system. All of building is built in the house of steel. It's way more efficient than any building that I've seen. Back in my day, when we were doing a lot of economic development, I was one of the first people to put together the project at Palm Springs for wind parks. Mm-hmm. All right, everything worked well except the turbines didn't last. Now we have specific turbines, but what's killing the solar business, we could be massive in the solar business is there's nobody to buy the power. Nevada Energy, if you give them a plan, they want $10,000, they disapprove the plan and they keep your $10,000. So we need to solve the power purchase contract situation so that people can go into the solar business and get some money from producing electricity, because we can wheel it all over the world if we want to.
We have a local here, Ski Sensky, who owns a Nevada public auction, who has been promoting movies out here, filming out here, and trying to kind of establish industry, at least here in Nye County. As a person who uses the camera a lot, the weather here is really a key issue to filming, and seems to be an advantage out here. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think the film industry, not only does it provide high-paying jobs, it puts the state on the map because the projects are filmed here. We can do commercials, we can do movies, we can do documentaries, music videos. All of these things are job creators. And raising money for films is not overly difficult. I actually was invested in a couple of them in my time, so I kind of know the industry a little bit. And the tax breaks sort of are a push. Okay, we benefit way more from the jobs in the movies and the gross on the movies than we would from the tax break. So I'm all for let's turn Nevada into Hollywood East.
Well, we're going to be going to a break. And once again, the call-in line is 727-8750. You can email me at deanne@kpvm.tv. And when we come back from the break, Bill's going to have his word.